Have you ever had that nudge that something wasn't right? That gut feeling, a voice in your head that pops up from time to time, maybe crippling, painstaking anxiety that just won't stop. Truth be told, that feeling or voice may be trying to help you out of a horrible situation such as a toxic relationship, passive-aggressive work environment, FOMO manipulative marketing tactics, or even a cult. Those are just some of the topics we're going to be covering in the Wake Up Call podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Van Fleet. I'm a business owner, and I'm also an intuitive, energetic business and growth coach mentor. I help my clients by teaching them, guiding them, supporting them, and empowering them in their journey, and this podcast is in alignment with my mission. Please check out my website, melindavanfleet.com, for further information. In the meantime, thanks for being here. Let's dive right in. Welcome back to the Wake Up Call podcast. Thanks for being here. I was going to release an amazing interview I had this week, conversation I should say, and I'm going to push it to next week because this topic has been plaguing me for a long time, and I know I'm not alone. And I think it's time for a wake-up call and a deeper discussion on this topic than what is just normally said out there. And that is, you likely have the wrong audience. Yes. So this podcast is specifically going out to all of my entrepreneur friends, coach friends, consultant friends, people out there hustling and trying to make it work, and wondering why they are stuck. And it's likely because you have the wrong audience. So a normal marketing coach will just say things like, who are you speaking to? Make sure you know who you're speaking to. And they'll just say that. Sometimes that coach may have like a little bit of an exercise so you can think about, and visualize who your niched client is. All of that's great. Not knocking those coaches. But I have learned the hard way, the really hard way, that you have to make sure you're really speaking to the right audience, and not everyone is your audience. And really having that land deep in your body, in your knowing, is a hard lesson. And so some people may be listening to this podcast and, I know. No, do you really know this? Is the question. Do you really know this? Really, really, really know this? So as I give some examples, I want you to seriously think about this. And seriously think about this on every level of your business in terms of what you're doing. So the actual actions you're taking and what you're doing. So what does that mean? That means who's connected to you on your platforms, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. God forbid if you're on TikTok. That will be something I'm going to share about in a second probably. Even listening to this podcast, right? If you're a podcaster, if you're a YouTuber, because your clients are likely not your friends and family. So even if I look at someone and have a little jelly about them having like a large Facebook following, let's say, which I do not because of my history with social media, it still doesn't matter really if the majority of their connections on Facebook are their friends and family, because their friends and family are likely not going to buy from them. They're likely not. Friends rarely buy from someone, especially if they're like a coach, right? It just is true. I dare to say this is true if you're in the MLM world, very common. It's mostly strangers. It's mostly people that, you don't really know, because there's just no like energetic history. There's no triggering. There's no envy. There's no bullshit that goes on in everyone's head. I mean, really. I'll ask my friends, do you listen to my podcast? No. I've got over that shit a long time ago. So it's really like, it's truly amazing. And it's an eye-opening experience when you're new to being an entrepreneur, coach, a consultant, what have you. It's actually eye-opening because you start off and you think, oh my gosh, all these people are going to buy from me, and they don't. They don't. They may inquire sometimes, but at the end of the day, I can bet you that the majority of very established coaches and entrepreneurs will say that no, it was mostly a stranger that found you online or met you in a group or something like that. So anywho, I want to share a couple different lenses here from personal experience, and I have a lot of experience in this lane and a lot of tears along the way in figuring this out, because again, no one talks about this. No one really talks about this from like a deep knowing and understanding, and this is how I help my clients because I actually know these things. So way back when I started in speaking in 2019, and I did that as the entry point into this world, because I was still a sales rep, so I was hiding. So I wasn't even online. I just got online. I was just figuring things out. So 2019. And I had a kickoff to my business in April 2019 where I hosted an event. And I wrote about that event in terms of the fellow speakers that I had join me in my book, Life and Love Lessons, which is on Amazon, on Audible, on Amazon, and you can get paperback or Kindle. So anyhow, in the fall of 2019, I booked my first bigger speaking gig, and I was so excited. So I had been really working on becoming a speaker, and this was something that this coach in this marketing your business course never talked about, was audience. I paid thousands of dollars, flew to California, all the things, and this coach never covered it, never. So I was blind as a bat. So I'm so excited. I have this speaking gig. My talk was on communication, which is truly one of the hardest talks to give. I do not recommend that as a lane. I just don't. It's just too many gray spots on that topic. But anywho, that was my topic. And afterwards, I realized I sucked. It was horrible. It was truly horrible. And there's many, many hindsights in that of just things I could have done better for sure. But the biggest takeaway was it was the wrong audience. The event was for SHRM, SHRM. And SHRM is a very large organization all across the United States. And there's lots of SHRM chapters, and they have monthly luncheons, so they need speakers, and sometimes they're paid and sometimes they're not. So I'd heard about this. And I got one of these gigs in Fort Myers. And afterwards, it really still took time for this to land. I mean, this is how big of a thing this is. I realized that I gave a presentation to a bunch of people who have jobs, Jobs. And let alone they were in HR, which I've never been a fan of HR. And I'm an entrepreneur. I think outside the box. I am happy living in the gray. I'm happy, not knowing, what the day is going to bring. Happy realizing that things take time and I have to figure this out, and I'm at peace on the journey. That is the successful traits of being an entrepreneur. Because what you think is going to work out normally doesn't work out. And the timeline that you wanted to work on normally is not going to happen. So if you can't handle those things in your body, in your emotional state body, you are not cut out to be an entrepreneur. You're not. You're someone who is going to have a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need both people in this world. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I realized, sometime later, that I gave a presentation from an entrepreneur lens to a bunch of people that have jobs. And it was a complete disconnect. They didn't understand what I was saying. I was confusing to them. Could I have done better in my talk? Absolutely. But it doesn't even matter because my talk is still my talk. My talk is still my talk. My belief system is still my belief system. My experience is still my experience. I don't want to talk about all the things that in the corporate world, like, ugh, that's not fun. Not a fun. Like, I'm appreciative of my corporate experience. Believe me, I have amazing corporate experience and I'm so grateful, but I don't go back there. So my talk just did not land. I had the wrong audience. And then I did it again. Yes, I did it again. Yep, did it again in August of 2021. So after October of 2019, when I went crying in my hot dog at the Five Guys in Fort Myers, yes, crying, sitting in a booth, eating a hot dog. And that's when I had a marketing coach, and I fired her after that because she was telling me like I was full of ego, and I was like, no, I'm just trying to figure this out. So she's a horrible marketing coach. Yes, I said that, a horrible marketing coach. She got fired. And I was like, oh, no, you are not a good mentor. You are not a good mentor. You do not see what's going on here. So anywho, COVID came, right? So speaking gigs were just online, lots of, women's groups, spiritual groups, and that's all fine. That was fun. That was great. They loved my talk. I talked on, in those things on comparison, which is truly one of my signature talks. And those went great. Those went well. So then what ended up happening was someone from when I was in sales reached out and asked me to be the closing speaker, which was like a red flag there. But anyhow, never be a closing speaker on a 3-day event. Just don't do it, please. Save yourself. People are tired. It's not good audience. But I said yes because I was excited. It was a big conference in Jupiter at a big big resort. And I knew the woman organizing it. I love her. So amazing. So I gave the same talk. I refreshed it from 2 years ago. So again, didn't learn my lesson. And gave pretty much the same talk. I made some tweaks that were my learnings from the other, and I didn't have it be workshop style because at the time I couldn't hold the energy of a workshop. That's a whole other thing. If you can't hold the energy of conversations with people, you cannot have a workshop. Like, you have to hold that energy. So I give this talk, and yeah, I bombed. Again, bombed. Why? Because it was the wrong audience. The audience were people that had jobs. They had 9-to-5 jobs. They were directors. They were managers. They were not entrepreneurs. So the Q&A was horrible because they were asking me questions in a black and white context on a topic, again, communication, which is not black and white. So they were like asking me for help when I was on this big stage with questions that were like, how would you handle, this person and this person and da-da-da-da. Well, like, I don't know exactly because I'm not those two people. I'm not in their head, right? So I have like a bigger methodology on helping people than just like saying things. And honestly, I even had a tool. I have a bucket tool that I still like think is an amazing tool. It's my tool. I even walked them through the scenario with the bucket tool, and they still couldn't like grasp it. And they just couldn't. And the one guy got so frustrated with me, and I was like, dude, I don't think I said dude on stage, just so you know, but I was like, I don't have any better answer than that. And what ended up happening was when I got the feedback, it was not very kind because I couldn't answer this guy's question. And I guess he just railed me afterwards to the person I knew and then the other event coordinator. So that was my hindsight. So again, I went to Five Guys in Jupiter, got a hot dog, and cried. Yes, this seems to be my pattern after something bad happens. But anyhow, I pulled myself back quicker because then it's when it really landed. I was trying to speak to the wrong audience. Do I still get it right? I really don't know. You don't really know. I had something happen the other day with my Instagram that is actually positive. I switched my little bio tag at the top took out my name because I realized I'm part of I'm going to see if I can put the affiliate link in the notes, but I'm part of Instagram Hub Club. And I was watching Chalene Johnson, and she was talking about her Instagram account, and I noticed something. I was like, oh, I can switch this and use the characters a little better. So what I ended up doing was putting in for people over 50. And it just niches down a little bit more. Of course, if someone's in their 40s, like, I'm sure we'd still be a great match to work together. 20s and 30s, maybe not so much, but 40s for sure. And, I'm definitely going to say I'm over 50 because I'm proud to be 53. And so I changed that, and I lost 7 followers. I literally did overnight, lost 7 followers. I've never lost that many followers, like, in one time. Like, I never have. And I'm going to say, because they probably saw that and they're like, Melinda's not for me, I can unfollow her. That's fine. That's totally fine. I was completely fine with it. Actually, I was kind of excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, if this comes true of what, Chalene talks about in Instagram Hub in terms of niching even further, and yes, you're going to lose some followers and some connections. I don't like the word followers. I like connections better, but connections. But the right people are going to find you. You have to hold that energy. You have to. And you have to know it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over time, but not overnight. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Why would you want to follow me if you don't like my content? Like, I don't want to torture anybody out there. Like, it's not my goal. I don't think that's anyone's goal online, right? Really. So that's okay. And we've had the same thing in Good Karma Sportfishing and coaching, that Ryan and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, we're not trying to attract anglers who are egomaniacs on the water, obsessed with having a huge boat and stealing spots. Like, there's a whole demographic for that. We want to have good guys and girls, women, if they choose. We do have a few women, but it's mostly men, and that's perfect. Like, whatever. And we want the dudes. We want the dudes that, like, want to learn how to fish. If they have a boat, that's great. Doesn't matter. If they have a shiny boat, that's great. If they have a boat like us, that's just a good size. It's 24 feet. It's not huge. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Like, we're not trying to have, like, drone shots and fancy clothes and like, that's not my husband. Like, I buy his t-shirts in bulk from Target.com, his shorts in bulk from Amazon, his shoes in bulk from Kohl's. Like, and I get visors made once a year in bulk. Like, literally, that's what the dude wears. Like, and he's happy. He's just happy. He just wants to fish. Like, he doesn't care. So that's it. We don't, like, do branded apparel and all those things. So why worry about that? There's a whole lane for those people, and that's great. There's an audience for that. So letting go of trying to do these YouTube videos with drone shots and fancy driving over the water, like, that is entertainment. We're education. So that's another piece, right? Are people watching your things for entertainment, or are they watching your things for education? So that's a piece to think about in terms of your audience. So these are all things to think about. And I hope this podcast lands in terms of really looking at, where are you showing up? Who do you think your audience is? Who do you think you have in your audience? Do you need to work on shifting that? And where are you spending your time? Networking groups, think about that. Is it your audience? Are they going to buy from you? Are they going to collaborate with you? Are they going to refer you? Are they going to connect with you, share ideas? Or is it not? And it's okay. Like, it is completely okay to move on, because when you cut that energy, when you cut that tie and move on, I can bet you, like, 2 more things are going to pop into your field that are actually meant for you. But we hang on to these, like, ideas that someone's put out there in the land, hence this is your wake-up call, who the fuck are you listening to, that are not for you. They're not for you. So for me, it was listening to that speaking coach way back when who was teaching how to, and it's not his fault, it's my fault, teaching how to market to companies. That is not for me. My higher self is like, you hate the corporate world. What are you talking about? Like, why do you want to be a speaker for the corporate world? Stop. You're an entrepreneur. You are not a corporate person. You were there for 16 years. You know the toxic culture. You know the passive aggressive culture. You know the boxes. You know what they do to people. Why do you want to speak to them? Right? That was my wake-up call. So this is your wake-up call. This is your wake-up call to look at this. Who are you speaking to? Who are you marketing to? Who are you trying to connect to? Is it your audience? Are they going to help you with your audience? They're going to help you build your audience, or do you have to make some shifts? So I hope you love this podcast. Please leave me a comment on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also check out my other content on YouTube. So I just recorded an amazing Success Codes podcast. That podcast is kind of taking a hiatus as I'm focusing on this one. I just feel much more aligned with this one. But I had an amazing guest, Colleen Biggs, and that podcast is amazing. It's on YouTube, so definitely check it out there. You can see the full-on interview. We have an amazing energy conversation back and forth. You can tell, like, it was just fantastic. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, was Sam Sharma. Great podcast interview from the Wake Up Call. Check that one out. And just check out my channel in general. I'm really focusing on content. I'm going to also load today. So today's Saturday, so you'll see it tomorrow or tonight, even if you're already subscribed. A LinkedIn Live I did with another coach. Her name is Jade. And the background for me on StreamYard was really janky. It's kind of psychedelic, actually. But the interview, the conversation was amazing about human design. Amazing. Like no one else. I've never seen anyone else have such a great conversation about human design. Yes, I'm saying that. It's just true. So check that out too. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. You'll always be in the loop on my shorts, on all the things. That is definitely my focus, and focus for Good Karma Sportfishing and coaching too. So I appreciate that subscription, and any like or comments. That would be cool too. So until then, gosh, go sit with a pen and paper and do this work. All right. Thank you. I love you. Goodbye.